Retro Ghetto.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Retro Ghetto. Oh, what could well be the final ever CEX lottery on this channel. As I'm sure you're all well aware by now, CEX have changed the way it is listing its retro items. The vast majority now say whether they do or do not have a manual, which in some part takes away the largest element of the lottery, right? So, I'm glad I've got a couple of boxes sitting here that I ordered pre-changes. These have been sitting on. One of these I've had for like 2 weeks. One took ages to arrive, I think because of like New Year, bank holiday, that kind of thing. But yeah, if this is to be the final lottery on the channel, what a way to go out. Because right here what I have is a collector's edition, of which this was the only one in stock, and what I believe is the greatest video game of all time. Now you may well be thinking, how do I not already own the greatest video game of all time? I'm sitting here amongst what, 1500 games? But we'll get to all that a little bit later on in the video, because we're going to start with this big daddy right here. This is, as aforementioned, a collector's edition. And yeah, this is the one that I have been waiting on. This cost me £60, which is on the more expensive side. If you look at eBay sold listings, you're looking at anywhere from sort of like 40 to 60, dependent upon conditions. So it's vital that this is in good condition, because if it's not to my standard, then what I'll do is I'll take it back and I can probably order this on eBay cheaper than what I paid for this. Although of course I did use vouchers with which to get this, so we'll keep that in mind as well. So I've been real big on collecting Xbox 360. As you guys will know if you've been watching the vlogs, I'm sat here now in front of my Xbox 360 area, and I'm absolutely delighted with how it's all come together. It's a console I've got a lot of love for, and I'm really enjoying the sort of collector's editions that aren't too big, similar sort of size to the games that I can display, and yeah, just really bring the whole Xbox corner together. So what I have in here is something that I hope I can add to that Xbox 360 area. Where's my trusty knife? Here we go. Let's waste no time. Let's get straight into this one, shall we? I'll switch to this camera here, if it can see me. It's a big box. I'm starting to think this might be why I was delayed, right? Because maybe they were struggling to find a box big enough. But part of me is a little bit nervous because I bought this thinking it was small enough to, as I say, display with my games. And if it needs a box this big, I'm a little apprehensive because I don't want it to be this big. We're going to take out the invoice, and there you go. So what we can see there is just bubble wrap, well not bubble wrap, Gyami wrap I believe they call it. Loads of Gyami wrap, loads more Gyami wrap. Right, okay. Oh, right, I think we're in. It definitely did not need this box to be this big, right? Wow, it's heavier than I thought. And that is the collector's edition of Bioshock. Bioshock was released back in 2007 and is the first of a trilogy released by Irrational Games and 2K. Set in a fictional underwater city called Rapture, and it's based in the 1960s. It's a first-person shooter, and you take control of the game's protagonist, Jack, who consumes plasmids which help him to sort of gain powerful abilities throughout. The game went on to mass critical acclaim, winning Game of the Year from BAFTA, IGN, Game Informer, and more. And it still holds a Metacritic score of 96 to this day. The series has sold over 40 million copies. Wow. I feel bad now that I've never actually played through a Bioshock game. I do own the remastered versions for the PlayStation 4, and yeah, I put it on once and I remember I got distracted with something else. I never gave it enough of a crack of the whip. I only put like a couple of hours into it, so I barely scratched the surface of what this game has to offer. But I'm hoping if this game is in good enough condition, you'll see I'm trying not to look at it. If this is in good enough condition, I'm hoping this is going to be the impetus, just looking at this collector's edition sat on my shelf, to actually play through it, right? So I can actually, you know, associate this piece with the game itself. But let's get into it, shall we? Let's have a look at this. And I've got to say, I'm feeling real positive. I don't know if you guys can see, but this looks to be in the condition I wanted it to be in. No bad sort of like damage anywhere throughout on this. Nothing negative to report whatsoever. And yeah, it looks exactly like I'm hoping it was going to look. It looks like it should be, let's have a quick check, about the same size as a 360 game. So here's a game. Yeah, look at that. Slightly bigger, which is perfect. Should be able to display these together on the shelf. And if I manage to get time to do this, I'll show you guys, hopefully at the end of the video, what it looks like in the new Xbox 360 area. But absolutely delighted with this so far. So let's take a deeper look into it. Let's open this one up. It's quite an interesting story, this one. This was actually demanded by the fans. So there was a lot of sort of clamour online in the Bioshock community for 2K to release a collector's edition of the game. And they sort of put this thing online where they said, look, if we get 5,000 signatures, we'll release one. And it hit that in less than 5 hours. And I think by the next day it had something like 15,000. So yeah, they promptly made the collector's edition. And that's why I'm able to hold it in my hands right now. So what have we got in here? Okay, so we're going to start from the back. We have got the steel tin. Now I've seen this quite a few times in CEXs. Often this sort of era, I don't know if the quality was different back then, but often this era of steel books hasn't held up well over time. And this is probably not a great example. Even though the game itself is designed to look a bit distressed, right? A little bit rusty. You can see that it has just started to go. It has got the odd sort of like dink in it. But I'm not too concerned about that because the steelbook is very easy to pick up. These are 10 a penny. You see these all the time in CEX stores. So if I do need to get a condition upgrade, that won't be any trouble at all. Yeah, so we've got the steelbook. And then we have in here... Right, okay, so we've got the... there's like a Moby Bioshock EP. And this is what I was really hoping, well, most looking forward to, should I say. So this is the Welcome to Rapture making of DVD. I think what I'm going to do is I might watch this first to sort of like wet my whistle for the game, so to speak, right? To get my appetite going. I love things like this. Often with audio CDs, it's very rare I utilise them, and I've spoken on the channel many times about postcards and how useless I think they are, but I really enjoy a sort of behind the scenes DVD. I love seeing the inner workings of it, what it took to get the game out and that kind of thing, and seeing the team and the motivation behind it. And it always sort of, like I say, it gets me going, right? It really makes me want to play the game. So, yeah, really happy to got the DVD in there. And then, that takes me to what is the main event, right? So, this is one of the characters from the game, the most iconic character from the game, right? The Big Daddy. This is like a big mech suit. And here he is. So hopefully you guys can see this. I'll put some overlay shots on the screen. This one's never been opened, thankfully. I mean, you don't need to. It displays so well with the window on the box, right? And apparently, when the collector's edition was released, a lot of these were arriving damaged, and 2K were having to actually send out more statues to people. They actually set up like its own hotline. There's so many with breakages, but this looks to be in really good condition. And like I say, it's really heavy, as you might expect with something called a Big Daddy. It feels very quality, very weighted, and I've got to say I'm delighted with this, man. It's in great condition. The outer box is what I was most concerned with. There's no marks on it whatsoever. And like I said, I don't mind paying the upper pricing of a game with vouchers if it comes in good condition. So that's the CEX win right there. Thank you very much. Right, okay, and buoyed by that win, that takes us to this, what I believe is the greatest game ever made. Unsurprisingly, this is for the Super Nintendo, and just before I get into this, I want to do a real quick full Super Nintendo set update. That's always a mouthful. People often ask me how I'm getting on, so I want to delve into a few numbers for you guys. I'm currently sitting on 245 boxed Super Nintendo games, 4 of which are sort of variants that don't complete towards the full set, so we'll call it 241, which means I've got 289 to go. I am just 24 away from being halfway, and that's my immediate goal, right? I'd like to get to a minimum of halfway to the full set by the end of 2024. So yeah, ironically, we need 24 to get there, and yeah, I think that's somewhat attainable, but I'm going to look forward to the journey over this year, that's for sure, because if I can add as many heavy hitters as I did last year, I'll be very happy. So my 2 new recent additions are Putty Squad and Space Invaders. Yeah, massive shout out to the community on this one. This was sent box only by a viewer of the channel, and this was sent all the way from Australia. Space Invaders is actually a PAL exclusive, and I spoke loosely on the vlog before that one day when I sit back in my chair like Thanos on his porch, feeling contented with myself, staring at my full set, I think it's nice to be able to say, like, you know, one or two of those were sort of like helped by viewers of the channel, and yeah, it just sort of adds to what is already my favourite collection. But anyway, enough of all that. Let's get into this, shall we? Where's my knife? Here we are. Okay, so this is a 3-figure game. This cost me £100, and like all Super Nintendo cardboard, that's based on condition as to whether you think that is a good price or not. On eBay, sold listings go anywhere from £250 to about £65, obviously based upon condition. So yeah, this is massive in terms of like the condition of this one. Let's get into it, shall we? I've sat on this for way too long. Like I said, I've been waiting for Big Daddy. You know why I said Big Daddy now, right? I was waiting for the Big Daddy one to arrive, and this has been sat here calling my name for too long. So I'm very excited and slightly apprehensive to get into this one. Right, where are we? Where's the pull tab? If this is the last ever pull tab, yeah, that went well. That went well. That might be a good sign. Okay, let's see what's in here, shall we? See if there's an invoice in here first. There's an invoice, so we'll get rid of that. Okay, so here's what we're working with. Please be in good condition. Please be in good condition. I'm not even going to look. I'm just going to hold it up. It's got a box protector on it. I can feel that. So this is Super Mario All-Stars, and crucially, Mario World. In my opinion, the original and best compilation ever made. Mario All-Stars, but even better by adding Mario World. Originally in 1993 released with a compilation of 4 of the remakes that were released on the Nintendo Entertainment System. But yeah, for me, I don't think there's ever been a greater game assembled. And that's why I've been sitting here saying this is the greatest game of all time. Because whilst a lot of you will know that I believe A Link to the Past is the best game ever made, I don't think there's ever been a greater collection or a greater amount of games put onto one cartridge. The fact that 5 of the best games ever made could be assembled onto one cartridge still astounds me to this day. And people often talk about if you were stranded on a desert island, you could only have one game. Well, if I could only have one cart, you're damn right it would be this one. And it'd take a long time for me to get bored of playing through these Mario games, let me tell you. But yeah, absolutely delighted with that. There are a few sort of differences between this and the original All-Stars. The intro, the very famous intro, is somewhat changed. I believe that the colours in the background are different. Also, they've now got Yoshi in the background as well, so they've sort of like rejigged the sort of way in which the characters are standing. You'll be seeing it on screen now, but anyway, enough of all of that. Let's get into it, shall we? So, first things first, like I say, it's in a hard case, which bodes well. I'm noticing straight away that there is some artwork on the edges missing. Not missing, but like been rubbed off. And it also looks very glossy. Very glossy. Right, okay, so you'll be seeing, look, on screen now, around the top, the edges. I don't often see that. And also, it does seem to be a lot more glossy than usual. So this is definitely something I'm going to have to look into, just to make sure it's legit. It's definitely been around the block, right? There's no denying it. It's not a brand new mint, oh my god, it's too good to be true. But I'm not sure about this one, guys. I'm really not sure about this. I'll have to cross-reference this, of course, with some collectors. But even if I was able to overlook the sort of like condition, and that's worrying me in itself, because I've never come across a game where the paint's come across in these areas to this extent. And if you look here, nah, this can't be legit. Look how high that says Super Mario All-Stars there. And look, why would that cut be there? I've never seen such shoddy workmanship on a Super Nintendo game before. You'll be seeing it on this overlay now on screen, but I don't think this is legit. Let's open it up, see what we're working with. Okay. The flaps don't have the nipple that we spoke about that time. But like I say, I will get in touch with some collectors and I'll give you some clarity afterwards. Ah, it's got a manual as well. The manual's legit. And it's been put into a manual protector. So if this isn't... There is some damage here. I just don't think it's... I don't know, you usually have to go with your gut, right? I've never seen a Super Nintendo game cut in that way. But it's a shame because we've got a manual, and that was crucial, right? Because it's a different manual to the Mario All-Stars set. And then we've got the cartridge itself, which, yeah, is also 100% legitimate. Now, I really wanted this because I've said so many times on this channel, and I'm not going to go into too much depth, that everything that you see here, everything, the YouTube channel, the collection, me being a gamer, all stems from Mario All-Stars. I've got the console, I've got the original game, I've got the original game in classics, I've got the VHS, I've got pretty much everything that's Mario All-Stars associated, except for this. So this was very much like the cherry on top of that collection. But there's a big question mark over this, a massive question mark. And it's such a shame because I say it's got the cart and the manual. Man, delighted with the Bioshock statue, but yeah, it feels like there's a bit of a question mark hanging over this one. I'm going to have to go and get some clarification from somebody that already owns the game, but yeah, let's just say to be continued, right? I'll see you in the future. Okay, so it is future me, and after consulting the advice of some Super Nintendo experts, I'm delighted to be able to say that this is, in fact, a legitimate copy, much to my surprise. Apparently, this is a notoriously difficult game to get in good condition. For some reason, when this game was produced, it was just produced horribly in terms of the quality control. A lot of collectors shared their examples with me, and it was sort of like exactly the same. I even took to eBay for both listings and sold listings, and you know, virtually all of them had this sort of cracking on the ink at the top where the box had been folded. And as you'll be seeing on this picture here now, there's also evidence of this poor sort of cutting, I guess you'd call it, where it's sort of almost cut short, which I've never seen on any other Super Nintendo game. So yeah, just goes to show you, right? I'm a lifelong Super Nintendo player and collector, and I'm sitting here with almost half the full PAL set, and there's still things that you're learning, right? There's still things to be taught about the Super Nintendo collection. And I think in some ways it sort of highlights how difficult the job is for CEX staff members, because if I think a game's fake, if someone traded this into me and I was working, I'd be very dubious. So it just goes to show you, especially like when you're looking at early 90s, the sort of quality controls all over the place. There's so many different variations in box materials and the way in which they're put together at that time. But for a few different reasons, I'm delighted this is in good condition. Firstly, a difficult game to find, not only in good condition, but just generally. And if you're wondering why it's hard to find a Mario game, it's very similar to the situation with Tetris on the Game Boy, to find that game boxed, because it was so prevalent as a pack-in. There's actually a couple of different Super Nintendo consoles that came with this game packed in, but all you got was the cartridge and the manual, no outer box. Also, a lot of people would have had Mario All-Stars, and then they would have had, you know, Mario World separately, so you wouldn't ever really feel the need to purchase this. And not only that, like I said, guys, I purchased this prior to CEX changing the with and without manuals on their system, and the inevitable price increase, which has hit just a couple of days ago. So I've checked, like I say, I paid £100 for this. Now, this game listed without manual is £110. With manual, £130. So a massive 30% price increase on this game alone. And yeah, there's a lot that can be said about CEX's recent comings and goings and changes in pricing, and I'm sure it will be discussed at length over the next few days, weeks and months. But all I know is this was very much a CEX lottery win. I'm delighted with the condition of this, and delighted to get a nice, legitimate, complete condition Super Mario All-Stars, including Super Mario World, which, as I say, I believe is the greatest games ever assembled on one cartridge. And yeah, just what I think was a glaring omission to not only my Super Nintendo collection, but my Mario All-Stars collection. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this video, and I just want to say before we get out of here, I was so buoyed by this success that I've purchased a couple more games from CEX that I'm very excited about, and we'll get to that on this Sunday's vlog, so make sure you keep it locked to the channel. Play your games, keep it retro. I'll see you all on Sunday in a bit.
You're watching the Retro Ghetto.
Ghetto.
Ghetto!
Yeah.